Hello, thanks for watching. Subscribe down below if you're enjoying. And this kind of rambly video is going to be all about the Sisters of Battle. I'm going to go through the book about the 16-minute mark. I'm going to get to the data sheets. I'm going to show off some of my models. About the 44-minute mark, unboxing and building the new warsuits. I do pull a few clangers when we're talking about the rules. I'll try and pin at the top the ones that I've noticed that I get wrong, but that was exciting.
So let's get into this then. Okay, so first thing to talk about, I guess, is the artwork. Now, I really like this artwork style. I think it works particularly well. It's that kind of nice balance between grim dark and also realistic, if you can get that in a 40k setting. I particularly enjoy it. Screaming faces, that's going proper grim dark. That's what we like, just with the background. Adeptus sororitas, or sororitas, however you want to say it. Sisters of Battle. In the sepulchre of battle, the God Emperor's holiest warriors. Excellent. Starting off the background of what these ladies are all about. Hail, devoted servants of the God Emperor. But it's important to know, as I'm going through this book, this is first impressions. This will be a snapshot. I'll be picking little bits out that catch my eye. This is not going to be a full rules review or anything like that. This is just literally what catches me, and I'm going to talk through my personal Sisters Battle army when we get to the data sheets at the back, and I'll show you what I've done and how I've painted them, that kind of thing. But it'll just be my literal impressions and just give you a sense of what this book's all about. For me, this is exactly as we should be seeing. Imperial Creed, background information, just to dig you into the universe that you're buying yourself into here. And that is critical in how I play 40k over the last few years. Used to be a big tournament player back in the day, did a lot of grand tournaments, that kind of thing. But now I build my 40k armies big, so I tend to go 3,000-4,000 points for pretty much all my armies and get together with a group of guys 3 or 4 times a year and do some rather large 40k games. My Necromunda gaming and whatever is more regular and in smaller sizes, so this is kind of how I play. So I do it background related, so if a book doesn't sell me on the background, I'm not doing it. So talking about the matriarchs, the ones who run the show, founding saints. Background obviously St. Catherine, really lovely model, we'll talk about that later, we'll use that. Hierarchy of the Adeptus sororitas. Now this for me is quite important, to give you just the idea of what the army you're getting into is. So it says here, a mission is led by a palatine, that's a new character we're getting obviously. A mission command squad, Imagifer and Celestian Bodyguard, very interesting. And then squads, okay. And then it gives you what a commandery is, so a canoness leads 4 of these missions, etc., probably more. So that's quite interesting. It builds up in how you would want to gear your army, and you've got all the extra bits there. So I really like that, and it gives you a sense of what we're going for. Morvenn vahl, so brand new character being introduced, stepped up by Robuke Gulliman to be a High Lord, and then she's straight off back out to war. That's what we like. Don't know much about rules, we'll come to them in a minute. Interesting background, good to have something slightly more different for the sisters. Always get worried when you introduce these characters though that they become the new meta, if that's the word, and everyone starts using them and you see them everywhere, and it can get a little bit out of hand, but good that we've got a character like that. So Wars of Faith, this is something that's been obviously in the background for a lot of time since the doing. The sororitas have bolstered their ranks to the point that their presence is now felt far across the Imperium, no longer the Ecclesiarch's bodyguard. So these were started in background, unless they've changed it again, that they weren't allowed to have men at arms, so they recruited women. There we go. That's how they started and expanded. Celestine, never done her. Love the character, I quite like the model, but didn't really fit with my army. Ephriel Stern, so introduced 2000 or something. I've still got the Demonifuge book somewhere, so I'll dig that out and I'll try and drop it in at the end of the video. Interesting character, didn't pick up the model, didn't overly like it, but I've always had in the back of my mind to convert it, so maybe that's something I'll do with this release. War Zones, that's a really nice piece of artwork, I like that, I really do. This kind of artwork, showing them crusading, burning heretics, fantastic. Orders Militant, so give you some background on that, I like that. And then we get into the sisterly orders. So I think it's been the same amount of sisterly orders for quite a number of years now. Martyred Lady is what they've always focused on, pretty much. It's always nice to have something different. Oh, that's a great piece of artwork. Yes, that's what we need. I really like the borders they're doing on these books now. I think this is fantastic. Bloody Rose, very interesting. I like the red colour scheme. Ebon Chalice. Okay, I'm not going to read through the backgrounds. Argent Shroud. Now these are the ones that I've based my army around, that you'll have seen from the shot I put at the start of the video, but we'll talk through them later. I just like the background of it. She was part of the bodyguard of Dominica, and that's who started the matriarch of the Argent Shroud, and we expanded from that. They don't do grand strategies, they don't do fantastic tactics, they literally just pile in, and it's all about deeds have more power than words, which I quite like. So that was their background, and I'm sure it might have changed, don't know. So I did it because I like the look of the colour scheme. I quite like some of the background. I did a slight twist and I called them Argent Heart, which I'll show you later. So technically I suppose it's a minor order and you could do it, but I like the Argent Shroud kind of background and way of playing. Sacred Rose, and then we're on to the orders minoris, talking about before. So this technically is what my army should be. So we'll see. I believe there's going to be some rules about making your own orders up later, so that could be quite entertaining. Like the artwork and pictures here, exactly right. It's what we want there. Non-militant, Hospitaller, Dialogus. So these are models from orders that play in your army, but they're not technically from the army. They're like a non-militant side. Now my Hospitaller, I have done them in a different colour scheme. My Dialogus I've mixed in with the army, so I suppose it's your choice whether you want to do that. As an argument line I've seen before about whether you would. Astrid Thurger, now I think she's a new model coming out soon. I've seen it on the pre-releases, so I'm sure there'll be a picture in the book somewhere. Great artwork, shows you where this army comes from, all about the ecclesiarchy, all that kind of religious piece. Now for me, this is my favourite part of the book a lot of times. This is the part where you'll see the shiny toys, you'll think fantastic, this is what I want to get after. And I think that's how you should build your army, especially for, I do big armies, because if you're never going to paint it because you hate it and you think, oh, it's awful to paint, well, you're probably never going to field it. So, go for the thing that you think that looks great and then cross your fingers that it works well in the game. And in terms of that working well in the game part, I did Argent Shroud because I just like the colour scheme, I like things, I quite like the background, and everyone saying the other year, why are you doing this? It's not as good when you go on an online forum. I'm like, well, probably not quite as good in the rules. However, this time I've been told they're fantastic. So, if you buy something because of how the rules are, eventually it'll get nerfed. If you buy something because you like the look of it and it ain't that great, eventually it'll get boosted as they realise they want to sell more. So I suppose bear that in mind. Trans St. Catherine. Now, I have got this, but I haven't built it as the Triumph. I've done it for converting characters. One of the best things this model can do is the amount of characters you can convert up off it. So I'll show you some of mine that I've done and some other future plans I've got later. This is the Astrid Thurger model. Really, really nice. So she's obviously from one of the non-militant orders. So I imagine you can drop that into any army. But it looks like they've painted it up as Evan Chalice there, I think. Don't know. So we'll see. New vehicles. Now, obviously we've always had the Immolator, but now it's interesting. You're getting, let's call it a castigator on here, but it's a version of a predator. So I suppose Imperial forces sharing the same technology kind of makes sense. Yeah, I get that. Oh, lovely picture. So this is kind of what you've got to imagine when you're doing scenery now. Very, very few of us will make a table that looks like that, and it will be a pain to play over, but I've got something kind of aspiring to that. Okay, so now into the rules. So here's the difficult bit. So I found the old Sister of Battle force. Lots and lots of things to bear in mind. There's lots of different abilities, there's lots of stratagems, there's lots of blessings, there's all that kind of stuff. So it is quite a fiddly, complicated army to play, and that's sometimes the beauty of playing a 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 point game. If you forget some of the little synchronicities, doesn't really matter because you've got another 5 units you can throw into the into the fight. So that's another reason why I don't play tournaments anymore. I can't keep the rules in my head necessarily as much as I should. Bit of combat patrol area. Now this, I'm assuming then, is going to come out as a combat patrol box. It looks like the contents of the limited edition box with a rhino chucked in, which is what I did. I started off with a limited edition box and then bought it, although I did get rid of the Arco-Flagellants because Unit 3 is pointless and I don't really like the models, and a few other bits, but here we go. So detachment abilities. Decree passivity, maximum one. Okay, so you can include a maximum of 1 canoness model and 1 missionary model in this detachment. So I've got 2 canonesses, so I'm going to have to change it, although my detachment is massive, so I could run multiple, I guess. Order convictions, same as order, so you're all from the same order and you're all in the same detachment. You get special rules, which is really good, gearing you towards a little bit more of a themed army, I guess. So Martyred Lady, the one that we talk about a lot, Valorous Heart. I'm going to skip straight to mine, so obviously if you want to see what yours is, I'll hold it for 2 seconds. You can pause the screen and read the rules. There we go. I'll do that on each one. So if you want to pause the screen and try and read these rules, or try and hold it so you can actually see. Again, I'm sure they're over exciting, but I'm going to read exactly what I'm into, which is Argent Shroud. So you get a stratagem. Okay, when you would lose a wound, a result of a mortal wound, till the end of that phase, 4+ invulnerable against mortal wounds. That's quite useful for 1 command point. Selfless heroism for a warlord. So larger heroic interventions, and if you're in engagement range, it can fight first. So again, that little bit of fast moving piece. And a bit at the top we missed. Each time it makes a normal move or advances to the shooting phase, it counts over having remained stationary. Now I've done quite a few retributors, so that might be quite useful. And each time you can shoot or fight, you can re-roll 1 hit or wound roll. But again, that could be very, very useful, because if you're going for melter weapons, that kind of thing. And a relic to move faster and get hit less. Oh, that's quite interesting. I'm sure the Sacred Rose on there. So for me, that fits quite well actually with how my army works, by pure fluke, which is good. So minoris convictions. Right, wow, lots to get after here. Is it just 2 pages? 2 pages, okay, so we can build our own order if you don't have an associated order. So okay, it seems here that you have 2 orders out of this if you're not going to take one of the orders militant, and you can pick your 2. Could be very interesting. Let's pick one that's got a nice name, Raging Further. This conviction makes an attack with a melter weapon. Target that attack considerably within half range. Ooh, that's nice. If the weapon has a pistol or assault, that weapon has the heavy type and the target is an 18. So that's quite interesting. Extra damage with melter weaponry. That could be very, very nice. But you can't state you've got rights of fire, so obviously you're going to awe and shake or vengeance, so they're gearing some of it. So I suppose these are going to be very interesting to get used to. Just to think, would this fit with how you see your army working? And also, if you're a tournament player, what can you gear up to be absolutely devastating? You know, we always do that. So stratagems, I will admit, I constantly forget stratagems. The beauty of the cards, I suppose, the stratagem cards, is that you can pick your favourite before the game, and the card is right in front of you, so you're not going to forget to use it. When they're in the books, I tend to find I forget to use them. I did pick up the cards last time round. This time round, the place I bought my stuff from had sold out of the cards, so I'll have to try and find some of them somewhere, I'm sure. But there's going to be some amazing stratagems in it, there always is. And this is a section you want to spend your time reading through to work out what's going to fit your army and what's going to be very useful. And they can be game-changing if you use them right, but I'm not going to go through. So, Blessings of the Faithful, and I guess this is what I'm saying about you've got to remember lots and lots of rules when you're doing Sisters, because we've already gone through detachment-specific rules, then we've gone through some Battleforged stuff, and now we're into Blessings. So if it's Battleforged and you've got Sister Detachment, and you're mustering an army, you can upgrade a canoness or palatine model in your army, giving them a Blessing of the Faithful chosen here, and it costs you some extra points. Okay, so they're fairly chunky points, 40 points for Word of the Emperor. Start the fight phase, select a unit within 3 inches of the model, not eligible to fight until after all eligible units from your army have done so. That actually could be very interesting, depending if you take a such a close combat type thing, you know, charging in to kill a demon prince or something. That could be, yeah, it could be interesting. Enemy unit is in miracle range of the model. Each time model in a friendly order makes a melee attack against the enemy unit. Invulnerable saving throws cannot be made against that attack. Oof. Yeah, okay, I can see why that's a 40-point ability. Yeah, get you. I'm sure the other ones are just as powerful. To use the ability, use it in the command phase, discard 1 miracle dice. That ability is then activated and lasts until the start of your next command phase. Each ability can be activated once per battle, and you can't activate more than 1 per battle round. Okay. They affect enemy models or units within miracle range, and that depends on what you've discarded. Oh, okay, so there's a slight thing to do it, but that does seem like you can give them... so you can give them more. Okay, that's cool. I like that. Warlord trait, something else to remember. Hymn of Battle. So this is now your priests have changed the rules, I believe, on the thing, so they don't get... I'm not quite sure what rules they do get, but we have War Hymn, which... Priests no War Hymn, yeah, it's that one. So they add 1 to their attack characteristic of the models within 6 inches of the unit. Okay, so that sounds like they're nerfing priest, because that used to be every unit within range got 1 to the attack, so I do have a priest. But I suppose that's an interesting way of doing it. So they're running around the battlefield singing, and it sounds like the sisters can sing as well. So you can sing and automatically wound a target on a 6. Excellent, get that singing done. Now onto the relics. Now, I run a Canon S with the Brazier, with the upgraded one, which doesn't seem to be in here anymore. There's definitely not the same name. Something equivalent seems to be the Brazier of Eternal Flame, which has got totally different rules, so I have to read them. There's the brazier holy fire, so I'm sure, you know, when we look through the relics, there'll be some that have been dialed up, some that have been dialed down, but it just makes it, you know, interesting to see where we go. So a decent page of relics there. Match play chapter approved rules. God, we're getting more and more and more stuff to try and remember. So if every model in your army has the Ministorum keyword and your warlord is a Sororitas, if you're playing a match play battle, you can pick these secondary objectives instead. So, okay, not too many, just the 4 secondary objectives. And it is nice having something different to be going at, so it's fine. At the end of each turn, if 2 acts of faith were performed during that turn by Sororitas units, score a victory point. Oh, okay, so that's interesting. So see what the acts of faith do. So by basically being a Sisters army and carrying out your acts of faith and doing that, you then get objectives. Okay, I like that. That's kind of cool. Crusade rules. Now I'm going to skim super quick through here because Crusade rules, I don't do Crusade. I play 40k quite infrequently, and it's always big games. So I tend to play big games of 40k probably once every 10 weeks. You know, we do 3, 4, 5,000 points, something crazy like that, as we all get together. Smaller games of 40k I do every now and then, but I tend to go for the big games. So and that's what floats my boat with 40k currently. So I do a lot of painting, not so much of the small size gaming. Now we're on to the actual rule sheets. And before we get to the rule sheets, we've got sacred rites. So another rule. God, so many. I don't even think we've talked about acts of faith. There we go, going back a page. So I mean, there's told you it was the first time through the book. So acts of faith, I don't imagine this has changed too much, but gaining miracle dice, you do it through a number of things. So you get, it says there, 1 miracle dice start of each battle round, end of a phase, and each of the following conditions were met. You destroy an enemy unit, smash in, or one of your characters dies. Okay, that's fine. And you spend them, I'm assuming like last time, you roll a dice, you get the number that you get there, you keep to one side. And then at some point later in the game, on advanced charge hit rolls, so they're wound saving, you can then use that instead of chucking a dice, so you get guaranteed damage. So like I said before about the, you know, on the 6s you get automatic wounds. So if you have got some miracle dice because you've had some characters killed or you've destroyed enemy units, you've rolled that dice, you've got that 6, you can guarantee you're going to get that wounding shot off. So they can be very useful. And again, as I said before, if you take that stratagem that you want to do, you can start stacking these things. Great. So sacred rites. Unit gains a bonus move. Sacred rites are active for your army. After players have picked a mission, you pick a sacred rite from the following table to be active, or you can roll for 2. Something else, very good. While this sacred rite is active, add 1 to advance rolls and charge rolls made for the unit. That could be brilliant for the Argent Shroud army that I'm doing, because I'll be moving further when I'm advancing, and I can still shoot because I can have stationary, so it could be particularly good. You can get unmodified hit roll of 6, goes an additional hit if you're close combat-y. So again, just another interesting extra. 1 you've got to try and remember, but 2 can be, you know, quite interesting for you. Okay, so we have morvenn vahl. So the new character, she has Fidelis, Paragon, Missile Launcher, Lancer, and all the equipment. Great. Toughness for 8 wounds. Oof, 13 power. She looks quite tasty. She's got a couple of different melee attacks with her Lance of Illumination. So you can be strength 5, minus 2 AP, but 1. 2 hit rolls instead of 1. Oh, Jesus. 10 attacks, okay. Or lunging strike, you're going to be strength 8, AP minus 3, 3 damage. Jesus. Oof. Wound roll of 6, you tough for a mortal wound. Okay, well, I'm glad I bought this one then. So I did pick her up. As much as I've got misgivings about characters like this just appearing in games and every army having them, she is quite tasty, and I'll be using her in a 3,000 or 4,000 point game, which I've got racked up in mid-July actually, so I will try and do some sort of battle report. I'm not sure how. She looks quite nice. End of this video is going to be an unboxing of her, so I'll take it in and I'll get her built, and you can see at the end of the video. Lots of special rules, 4+ invulnerable saves. If you lose a mortal wound or 4+, you don't lose it. Oh my god. Halve the damage attack characteristic of the attack rounding up. That's fantastic. Very, very strong. We like this. Okay, so moving on to the canoness now. I know I didn't do too many rule selections with morvenn, but I said I want to be quick. Just say what jumps out at me. What jumps out is morvenn vahl's a monster. Canoness. I'd run 2 canonesses. I've got the first one here. See if I can get some light onto this to try and make it a bit more visible. I don't know if you can see. So again, from a limited edition army set, painted in Argent Shroud colour scheme. And the second one that I run is a helmeted canoness with your brazier. So we've got the brazier there. and I've done it with a condemner bolt gun because it just looks cool. I know it's not the sensible option, but it looks cool, and a chainsaw across the back. So I realise it's not the best kit out, looks great, and in the old version actually worked quite well when you stuck her in a unit with unit retributors and stuff, lots of melty, lots of fire. You can do some mortal wounds, but we're talking about new rules. So it looks like Brazier Holy Fire still exists. That still seems fine. Condemn the bolt gun is still there. Has it changed? Cycle model, yeah, it's still sort of the same. And you can equip them with null rods, rods of office. So nothing dramatic seems to have changed. So the palatine is one of the new characters we've introduced. Kind of the sister battle equivalent of a lieutenant for Marines. Fairly standard stat line. And what extra is going to be roll to hit or wound in the air. Or a reroll wound roll of 1. So more useful for being near combat squads, because your canon S, when we flick back there, is normally the reroll to hit, isn't it? Yeah, reroll to hit roll. So you could stack them all together and have bubbles all over the place. Juniper Router, I don't imagine it's changed very much. Not a character I went into because, again, she is Order R Martyred Lady, not my thing. Missionary, I didn't use a missionary, I've used Priest, which I've got a model of I'll show you in a second. Again, quite useful for sticking near other units. So, core units within 6 of models, they can use its leadership, whatever, and then they'll do the, yeah, it says there, war him and one other him. I imagine that's going to be the difference between the missionary and the priest. The priest probably only knows one him, and that explains the points difference. For me, the reason I never took a missionary is your sister's characters were just better, and priests, although it takes up a precious elite slot, I just found them slightly more useful. So Celestian Gemini Superior, nothing new and exciting in there. Never did them. I don't imagine anything exciting. I have read somewhere or heard somewhere or something that the Gemini you can use elsewhere, but doesn't look like you can here. They're geared in together, so I think you used to be able to pick them up separate. Triumph St. Catherine. Now again, fantastic, amazing model. For me, didn't want to use it in the army, but it is a brilliant source of conversion models and models you can use for other things, which we'll see in a minute when we get through the rest of my army. Okay. Ephriel Stern, a brilliant book. Demonifuge is a great book when reading it. Manifest strange powers. This here is a witch. There's all sorts of quests and whatever. Not a model I've used. I just didn't like the model. Maybe I could convert it at some other point. Not my thing. Now onto the Battle Sister squad. So I'll show you a standard sort of squad of mine. So I run my standard squads, 10 strong. This is the Sister Superior we're using there. I'll try and put some shots at the end of the video and just like do some unit shots so you can see. And obviously you've seen the whole army because I'll put that shot at the start. So that's there. I put 1 Storm Bolter. Everyone else with bolters in there. So it's the Storm Bolter idea. And I've done all of my eye sockets yellow on my standard sisters, green for like the canonesses and things. Now what I have tried to do as well is just some little conversions. So you get bored of having the same model again and again and again. So we've taken the icon and I've cut the little cherub off this one because this is the unit cherub that we've done. I've done that in each. So 10 strong, no heavy weapon, special weapon in there, all painted the same. Try to do slightly different poses, slightly different heads if you can. But that's to give you just a picture of what I do. Also important to say on here, if you look on the bases, I've done these with Green Stuff World rollers just to give a bit of visual difference. And as you period there, they come with the fleur-de-lis, so they're quite a really nice thing to do. Takes a bit of extra time to model them up, but again, worth it. Very impactful on the army when you do. Now, the war gear you can equip these with, you can get the Incenser Cherubs, Simulacrum Imperialis. Now, I put them in every single unit because it looks cool. In a small game, I get why people don't, and everyone suddenly started using the simulacrums when they became free. Everyone's like, oh god, I've got to build them back on my model now, and they hadn't built them. Build it for what looks cool and you think you like the look of. If you gear it too much, you'll end up like this. It wasn't free, so people didn't put them on. Then they made them free, so people modelled them on. Then they made them pay for them, they took them off. Look, do what looks cool. You can always tell your opponent, look, they're not actually carrying these simulacrums if you don't want to pay the points, but it looks cooler. And in bigger games, which I do, 3,000 pointers, a few points for a simulacrum makes a very little difference. Anyway, they've changed, looking at this, how you do it. You can take less special weapons in the unit, but I only run 1 Storm Bolter anyway, so that's not going to impact myself. I'm probably going to get cries of you're picking the wrong list there. This is another new character, Astrid Thurger. So she is like an Imagifer, obviously with an extra character with them, so a bit more points. 4+ vulnerable save, very nice. Line of martyrs. Each time attack successfully wounds this unit, the attack must be allocated to Dolan. Ignore the per fine. Okay, everyone to armor saves. And you can select friendly characters and they get abilities. Okay, you can reroll one hit roll, wound roll. So it's a bit of a buffer character, a bit like your Magifers and Dialogus are. So Magifers don't really seem to have changed. When you're close within 6 inches, you can pick abilities, so you can reroll advance and charge rolls. Very, very useful actually. So they have tweaked these different wound buffs and benefits, so very useful to be using. Dialogus, again, seem to be following the same sort of role they were before, useful buffer characters, but what you will notice is these are elites choices, and I'm sure on the next pages we're going to have elites choices. The Sister of Battle are massively flush with elites choices, so you've got to really think what you want to take, what you don't. So I'll show you what I've done with mine anyway. So I've done my Magifer again, from the Triumph of St Catherine. Very, very useful set to pick up. Yeah, it's 60 quid, but each of these are sort of 20 quid when you buy them separately. So by the time you've converted 3 characters, you've made your money and you get lots of extra bits in there. So I really like that set. You can make your army look very visually different then, and it's real simple. All I've really done is taken, you know, a banner off one piece, different backpack on the model. That's a hand from a sister. So quite simple, easy conversions. But I think quite effective, and I'll put a slideshow at the end with all these individual characters on, so hopefully you can get a little bit of a thing if you fancy looking at the models. And that's my Dialogus. Again, you'll spot the parts from St Catherine, and a little bit from some of the sisters sets. So nice simple conversion that I've done there. Now we come to the Preacher. I've got Celestian Squad I'll talk about in a second. So how has he changed? Yeah, I was right. So he knows War Hymn, that's it, from Hymns of Battle. So he's not the 6-inch radius he had before, adding attacks to everybody. He's slightly debuffed. I've done that. Now, I didn't want a male Preacher, so what I did is I used, again, St Catherine, and used it with the sensor, put a bolt pistol on there, and a sword there, and that's hopefully still, we can still do it. Place with auto pistol and chainsaw, doesn't like another bolt pistol anymore. We'll just chop it off and put something else on. That's fine. Now on to the Celestians. So I built my Celestian squad after I built the rest of the army, and as it says there, basically they're just Sisters of Battle with some extra equipment. So I did my Sister Superior with a melter pistol and a combi flamer because it looks cool. I've piled loads of equipment on here that they blatantly can't use, but it's just an interesting sister squad. So that's the Superior. I then did some standard squads and just took a whip from the Repentia that wasn't being used, and again she's just a standard bolt gun armed sister. I'll flick through these very quickly. There's my Simulacrum Imperialis for the unit, and again from the Triumph of St Catherine, and they're called the Argent Hearts, so little bit of a extra add on there. Again, simple conversions, and this was really done to make my Celestian squad stand out. They're not an overly impactful, effective squad in the game, to be honest. They are, you know, the bodyguard for them. Here's actually a conversion that sounds strange. This is the easy, it's sort of simple, doesn't stand out as a conversion, what I'm particularly proud of. So that's a Condemned bolt gun cut down. So literally I've just cut the fins off, they just make it a different pattern bolt gun, and I really particularly like that. Again, normal, just kind of melter gun armed. So as much as I said they're not very effective, there are 2 melter guns in that unit, which I'm hoping is still usable. Now this is one I particularly like. So we've taken it from Sister Repentia sword, cut the hands off, flipped it, and just put that so she's armed with a Repentia sword there. So again, a simple conversion that I really liked. And these are all done from spare parts from building normal sisters. So chainsword on this one, with the sheath on the back. So again, normal sister parts and parts from all the kits are built together, put together in a squad, and I'm hoping we can actually do it there. So Celestian can replace with a special weapon. No, we can't. So I'm going to have to tweak this squad, so never mind. So yeah, I'm going to have to do some slight tweaking of the Celestians, but I guess that's the problem when they change army rounds. There's going to be some little tweaks, but that's no problem. I've got plenty of spare parts hanging around to get on with after. Okay, so let's get on to the Sisters Celestian Sacrosanct. So these are the new combat unit. Now, personally, I don't like how they look. I think the shield's a bit plain and boring. I also find it a bit daft. You've got a bolt gun welded to the back of a shield that's going to limit your range of motion, and you can't defend yourself while shooting at the same time. It would have been nice to have had bolt pistols mounted on the back of the hands or something like that, so they could almost smack with the fist and shoot from a distance and keep themselves covered. The point of a shield is to keep yourself covered. You're swinging it out the way to shoot someone, you're then open to incoming fire, so I'm not over keen on that. But I just maybe want to convert something on the back of the hands, so maybe I will. That is a lovely model if you take the shield off. That's my opinion only, obviously, but I do like that. Look, you can see why they're going to work. 2 attacks with something that is +3 strength, -3 AP, so strength 6 hits. Gear this up with that ability we flicked through earlier with the hitting first when you charge in, and hitting first on the next round of combat, and all those other bits, and it's going to be great. I get that. Fine. If I'm going to do them, I'm going to convert them though. So nothing to show there. Hospitaller. This is another one that I've put a conversion through for. And here she is. So not a massive conversion. It's a normal Sisters model. A couple of extra parts from there with a flying dove with the paper underneath. And a couple of parts from elsewhere. So not a massive conversion. I've done her with different coloured robes, so she looks like a medic. Just a nice, simple one there. And yeah, not there's anything wrong with the official Hospitaller model. I just fancy converting it across, and I'm sure I'll get the official one at some point, but I quite liked how that looks in the different robes. Dog Martyr, new character. Now I haven't done this yet. I do still have a couple of the St. Catherine miniatures left, so ideal conversion opportunity, I think, although she has got the angriest eyebrows of any Sisters model ever. That's a really sort of vicious looking woman. So what does this do? Sacred Task. While a friendly order core unit is performing an action is within 6 inches of this model, that you can shoot without that action failing. Could be quite useful. Objective secured ability could be useful, I suppose. And those war hymns, they're really going for these hymns to stack up. So it's an army where you've got to link together a lot of stacked abilities to really have an effect. But again, look at the amount of elite choices we've got through. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and we've got another page. So 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 elite choices in the army. So you're going to have to be quite sensible about how you're going to do it. Now, Paragon warsuits, there's an unboxing of these I'm going to put at the end of the video, so I have picked 3 of these up. They do come in squads of 3, 2, 3, 13 power, points will be at the back, I'm sure. Toughness 5, 4 wounds, that's quite tasty. 3 attacks with war blades, +1 strength. Make 1 additional attack with the weapon, so a little bit of extra fighty. War mace, 3 wounds, oof, that's quite nice. But -1 to hit, so you're going to balance off. So I quite like the idea of these. I'm not keen on the poses and things. There's an argument about where the legs look, but we'll talk about that when we unbox. So Repentia Superior, so I have done several units of Repentia. So these are my different Repentia Superior. We've got one here, just with a bare fist. I didn't want 2 whips or anything there, so bare hand, pistol on the back, whipping away. Then we have the one from the limited edition box set, which again, really, really nice. Colour scheme fits in with the rest of the army. Fiery backpack, fire is always good. And then the 3rd Repentia. So obviously I run 3 Repentia units, or can do if I choose to. I took those because the big game we did when this army first came out, and I did it, I needed something to take down Greater Demons. We were doing a 4,000 point each game, so the other side had 8,000, I think it was, and all 4 Greater Demons were coming up, and I decided Repentia were going to be the unit that were going to pop those Greater Demons, and it worked. So Sisters Repentia here, they don't seem to have geared it down. Strength ×2, so strength 6, 2 wounds, -1 to your hit roll, but again it can be real choppy if you've got units upon units of these piling in with your priests nearby and your Dog Martyr's a new character, your banner bearers, that kind of stuff, to really buff the rules on these, so they can be quite effective. So I'll show you some of my models. So I'm not going to show you through all of them, I'll just show you a small selection. I'm sure I'll put some pictures later of the whole army. So fairly basic colour scheme, because it's the undersuit of the Repentia, they're not exactly no armour. I love some of the detailing on it. You can see the, we've got daggers through our eyelids, and it's fantastic. So fairly basic colour scheme, nothing too fancy. I'll just show you another one at random. So all very nice, again with the scenic bases, and I've done a couple of different skin tones in there, so we have pale skin, dark skin, just to put some visual difference, and I've tied them into the army by using the red where appropriate that ties in with the clothing of the rest of them. So Crusaders, I haven't used, look, they're okay, but I think again you're picking this elite's choice over something else, and I do think that the Repentia and things are more effective, fairly small unit, but look, if you're going to go around an ecclesiarchy geared army, taking archoflagellants, death cult assassins, that kind of stuff, well, they work quite well and they'll be quite nice, but I've personally don't run archoflagellants. It's not how I wanted to theme my army, so I didn't use them. And the same thing, I don't run death cult assassins. So, Dominion squads. Doesn't look like to be anything changed. 4 Dominions can replace it from special weapons, that's fine. Superior could have melee, all good. I'm assuming, do they move first? Yeah, they do. So they can all move 6 inches of your movement phase. Got to end more than 9 inches, quite useful. Now I run these on foot, as what I've done before, 10 strong unit. I have taken incenser cherubs and simulacrums with them. It's important to say, I've not actually checked if incenser cherubs have stayed the same. Yes, they have. Once per battle at the start of any phase, roll 2d6, discard one of them. Value of the remaining dice is the unit's cherub dice. You can perform an act of faith using that cherub dice. So that's great. Exactly the same. So I've run my Dominion squad. So just the same, simulacrum, just showing you fairly bog standard how we've run that. And obviously, well, you can see there, that's what I did in the other unit. I cut that cherub off and used that for their units and sensor cherub. Unit leader, to kind of tie into the thing really, we've got a bolt of flamer. Now I think the mace arm comes actually in the Retributor set, I think, but I wanted to use it with the Dominions because Retributors I don't really imagine all the time I'm going to get close up. Melter guns maybe, so I've just chosen to use it on this unit, again with the scenic base. And then this is the squad that inspired me to use flamers purely because of the limited edition model that you got in the box set. So there's the limited edition model that we've painted up with the demon on the feet that we've set on fire. So I run 4 flamers in the unit and it's a 10 strong unit. Seraphim, very nice, got these out of the limited edition box, and I do just run these as kind of objective grabbers, so I didn't really do any extras. You know, I've still got the sister, just the plasma pistol, and the rest of the squad I run with bolt pistols. Cheap pointed objective grabbers, I keep meaning to expand on them and do some extras, just never really got around to it. But like the models, I just find them a little fragile, and you throw them too far forward, you can get a bit squished. So I've just used them as objective grabbers, but you know, good fun. Zephyrum, not done this unit yet. I do quite like the look of them, and it is quite tempting, but I've done my army based more around that kind of bolt of fire, rapid foot movement kind of thing, which is how I've geared my force. Now, personal favourites, Retributor squads. So I run 3 Retributor squads, and I work them in slightly different ways to each other. So my first Retributor squad I run, here's my Sister Superior, Combi Melter, little wavy stick of doom, and then I run 2 multi-melters. So why 2? Because in the old rules, whether it's still the same, we'll check in a second, you run 2 and you pop the cherubs to fire again, and I run these inside an immolator, and these are really the one-shot, pile forward, kill a demon prince or whatever, and then back off again. So whether it's doable, Armorium cherub, after each unit is shot, one model each unit can immediately shoot with one of its ranged weapons again. Can do it twice. Battle. So good. Look, I could have put 4 in, that's fine. I find you put 4 in a 5-man squad because these run with my either a canon S or something else in that immolator as well. They pile forward, they dive out, they pop whatever it is they're going for. Now if you run 4 immolators, I just find you get shot back, you start losing immolators when you take casualties. You put 2 in there, you've got this ability. You can shoot it again after you've shot, so you can see what the multi-melters do first, and you might kill what you're shooting at. You don't need to pop the cherubs. If you don't, you fire again. I quite like how that works. The other Retributor squads I run are purely heavy bolter. Now I very unusually I run 3 in here because these are ones that will sit back, hold objectives. Will quite often sit in the scenery, back battle lines, objective holding unit, not going to get shot at very often because they're quite far back, they've got a further range. So I run 3 heavy bolters, a standard sister, and then your Sister Superior. I haven't dropped cherubs or simulacrums in with these on the heavy bolter squads, because they're kind of a hang back kind of unit. Mortifiers I don't use, very nice, but fits in with a bit more of that, you know, ecclesiarchy, bit grim punishment brigade, so not something I've used in my army particularly, but I do see why people will. It has been on my radar to get some, but to be honest, when you look at the stat lines now, the new suits for me would fill what I would want them to do on the battlefield, so just a bit of a change. Okay, well now we're digging into more of the heavy support stuff. Penitent engines, again, not something I've particularly used. Fits a lot into, again, the Ministorum type punishment environment. I get it, I like them, I like the idea of the background. Didn't fit with what I wanted to do with the army, may at some point. Exorcist, I've got one of these here, if you can see this. I'm definitely going to have to put some still shots at the end because this camera's footage is not quite picking up what we're after. Absolutely lovely model, you know, fiery exhaust vents, lots of sort of Baroque detailing, and again epitomises for me what Sisters are about and what 40k is all about. Absolutely love them model wise, so really useful to use. And I'm assuming the rules are broadly the same. Oh, slight change. So heavy 3d6 at strength 5, very, very useful, 48-inch range, not great, or you can use the ones that are a bit more anti-tank pieces, so that's really, really useful. Blows up when you do it, that's fine. You've got the sliding wound track, very nice. Castigator, so Sisters Predator. It comes with a battle cannon, or you can upgrade it to a battle cannon. So again, something a bit different that the Sisters have probably been lacking is that kind of heavy armour wing. For me, this decides how you'd want to gear the army. And we're on to the last two Sister of Battle vehicles. So we've got the Rhino, which is something I do run. If you notice when I was showing you the Celestians earlier, I only run 8 Celestians because that gives you 2 slots for other people to be transported in there with them, whether that's going to be a priest, a hospitaller, a dialogist, whatever, to sort of buff the Celestians up. I know I'm going to have to tweak it because of the weaponry equipment's changed, but there we go. So just a Rhino, very nice. Rhino's a Rhino, everyone's used to those, but it's nice having it in the army. Interesting though how we did the different patterns, so different doorways. It's a totally different pattern of Rhino chassis to what we've seen on the other Sisters, so just an interesting choice. Immolator, I suppose one of the iconic Sister of Battle vehicles, particularly nice. So we have the same, I've done mine so it detaches, it goes in the case easier. Same chassis, very Baroque, very exciting. Now I didn't leave the stained glass window see-through. Again, I think I've stated on some other videos if you watch a lot of my stuff, I just think it looks fake and plasticky, so I've painted it up, all the different stained glass, a little bit of blending in there, that kind of thing. But absolutely love these vehicles. Has a transport capacity, I'm assuming it still has a transport capacity, you never know. Yep, 6 models, and that fits in again, like I said before, my Retributor squad with a character in it, so particularly nice. I fit mine with multi-melters, not with the flamers, because it fits in with the squad that's inside it. Again, some heavy firepower to take on. And then the last thing's a Battle Sanctum, which I probably won't be able to show in the shot. I've got one. I've moulded mine onto a terrain piece along with the thing, and it's on my urban battlefield that I've referenced a few times. And part of the reason why my bases are done as they are with the green stuff wool rollers, showing a Sister there at random so you can see it, I've done that with the terrain piece as well. So I will put some still shots at the end of that terrain piece if you want to obviously take a look at that. I'll probably be 5 minutes of still shots by everything I want to put in. And then we go into weapon profiles. Gives you about bolt, flame and melter weapons, and all your weaponry and points values and everything in here that you're going to need if you're going to do a match play army. Nice glossary at the back. So rather long-winded through all that. Hope that made some kind of sense. But I do like that it's got the reference stuff and the bullet points in here. So I suppose overall, very nice book. I'm not going to go through the points. I'm sure there's going to be some contentious issues in here about points going up, points going down, that kind of stuff, but we're just having a first impression. So first impression is very nice. So now let's look at and unbox the new models. Okay, so let's get to unboxing these then. So we're going to unbox Morvenn vahl and the Paragon warsuits. Okay, let's see what we see with vahl. So single sprue, 50mm base, I think that's standard for all the warsuits. Okay, fair few bits, nothing too drastic looking. Very nice looking spear there. That's quite pretty. That's good. And this is the point that makes a difference, I suppose, is the robes that go around the slightly more ornate chest pieces. And these are very nice with the double-headed eagle, the greaves that are a bit more ornate than others. A few different head options, helmeted, slightly stoic face, angry face. We like some different options on the heads there. I think I'll probably go for the helmeted version myself. Oh, nice look, nice simple sprue. We'll see how it goes together shortly. The instructions, well, I'll have a go building it first, and then I'll give you some commentary on whether these are like the typical recent GW instructions with a few reading errors. You can tell in COVID and pandemic they're definitely skipping the proofreading a bit more than normal recently, but we'll see whether that goes. I do like that scenic little base piece for them to go on. What I'll be doing though is, you'll see, I'll do something different underneath there so it ties in with the rest of my army and the board that they go on. Okay, let's get to the warsuits. So, bases, same as normal, same size as vahl. Transfer sheet for the different units and things, Argent Shroud, Valorous Heart, all that kind of stuff. Nice if you want them, can add some extra detail on. I tend to skip transfers. I do use them sometimes though. And the warsuit instructions, you can see different poses they've built here, so, and give you some build variants. Now looking at that, it's different components for melter, flamer, heavy bolter, so probably some options for magnetisation. I'm going to just build mine straight build, straight as they come, but obviously you can do some optional builds in there. Very nice, yep. Okay, I'm sure there's going to be some mistakes in the instructions, there always is. We'll get to that after I've built them, which we'll show later. So the sprues, looks like a three-parter that's been snapped up into pieces with some similarities because you've got the torso and things on every kit. But then the different kits look, the different sections of the sprue look like they've got the different weaponry on there, and different leg poses and things like that. And looks to be optional heads with them all. So yeah, you've got some bare heads, different faces. Now is it the same face repeated multiple times? It's not, so that's quite nice actually. So we've got what looks to be 6 different bare heads, 3 different helmeted head options, although the 3 different helmets are the same. So actually some nice options there. We should be able to do some different builds, so we'll see how it goes. Okay, so the build is complete, and here's morvenn vahl in all her glory. So a fairly easy model to build, not too many parts, no real complications, went together really nicely. What I did notice though, some gaps coming down the tabard, if you call it that. Filled that with liquid green stuff, and then just used a little bit to texture the robes just to give it a different feel. For me the robes are a little bit too clean for someone that's on the battlefield, so put a bit of a tweak. Custom moulded base on here, so I just did a green stuff wood roller and tied it in there. But look, a really nice model. Really looking forward to painting it. Keep an eye on the channel because I'm sure I'll put a painting guide up on there for that. Then the normal warsuit, I decided I wanted it to be kind of morvenn vahl's bodyguard, so I went with the mace, multi-melter, get stuck in, go after those big demon princes or enemy knights, whatever. Just did the same thing with the base, and you'll notice what I've also done is I've cast up with blue stuff, morvenn vahl shield, to make it tie into the unit. If you don't know how to do that, I'll put a link in the description down below to a video that I've done on using blue stuff to cast little bits of models. And then I've sculpted on some robes, sort of to match vahl, but a little bit more tattered and raggy because I wanted it to look a little bit more battlefield orientated. So again, just adding a little bit extra on. I'm looking forward to painting this one. Give you a couple of size comparisons now. So there's just up against a normal sister, so you can see the size of these suits, very nice, almost approaching dreadnought scale. So they're quite chunky models, and it'll tie in quite nicely. And again, just to show you vahl coming up there. So look, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you want to see my full sisters army in action, because I put a shot at the start of the video, or I'm going to, I am doing some gaming with these guys in the middle of July. In a 4,000 point game against a couple of mates, so I'll have 4,000 points of sisters on the battlefield, maybe with a couple of knight allies. Keep an eye on the channel, or check out my Instagram. I'm sure you'll see pictures of it on there. And keep an eye on the channel soon for all the other painting and all that kind of stuff I'll be doing. So hope you've enjoyed that. Hope it didn't go over too long and didn't bore you to death. Thank you for sticking it out if you've made it to the end, and I'll see you next time.